You're watching Stockwatch. I'm Simon Brown. Joining me to unpack your stock-related questions today, David Shapiro from Sasfin Securities, Ricus from PSG Hole and One Ruimsig. Be sure to send your questions. Email stockwatch@bdtv.co.za, SMS 41392, or on X @BusinessDayTV using hashtag Stockwatch. Gents, thanks for joining us. A question coming through on Remgro, because market's going quiet. Results yesterday, but the real question is, and Ricus, let's start with you. Massive discount to net asset value. Surely there's opportunity here. I've been asking everyone this, and what's your take on it?
Well, just technically, the share price is breaking to a new high, which I always like. So that discount remains, and as Johan Rupert said last, if you want to concentrate on your discount and net asset value, that's your endeavor. You're either going to sell it because you like us or you don't. That being said, most of their divisions did very well, apart from the write-offs in Total and also on their internet side of things. But I like the momentum in the share price, and as long as the companies that did well keep on doing well, I can see no reason why the likes of Outsurance, for example, won't continue to do well. I think Remgro is in a pretty viable position, and if we get a narrowing of that discount to NAV, even better.
David, your take on it? I remember when discounts used to be 15-20%. That's no longer the case.
There's still a hesitancy to buy holding companies like that. We've seen it. African Rainbow Capital is taking themselves off the market. They were upset by it. Remgro's had a massive discount for a long time, which we try to pay. Look, in this case, you can buy RCL on the market. You can buy Rainbow Chickens on the market. You can buy Outsurance, which I think is an outstanding business. So at the end of the day, you want Mediclinic and you want, Heineken, and you want the cable business, which is still under pressure. I'm indifferent. I'm agnostic on this one. But it is still a very big favorite amongst investors. But I think out of all the businesses, I would look at Outsurance and say, well, I can get that direct on the market.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of it, as you say, is listed. Going offshore, David, let's stay with you. Should I be looking to be buying some Palantir? They've come back a little bit. It had an insane run. You probably know a lot more than anyone else, David. What's Palantir? Should we be buying it?
It's a good business. And you know what happens? I was just recalling that a client of mine said, my son wants to buy Palantir, and I started saying, no, 170 PE, and I started giving all causes. They said, in any case, I'm buying it. So who's the fool? Me, because the share price just keeps going up. It's a decent little business, and I think as long as you do it in palatable, I don't mean to be punny, but I mean as long as it's in palatable bites or something like this, understanding that it's overvalued or very, very highly valued. But I can't challenge the quality of the underlying business. It's expensive, but it could get more expensive.
Ricus,
so I would say yes, in limited quantities. Yeah.
Limited quantities. Ricus, all companies, I remember Capitec in the days of 100 PEs. Even Nvidia's is unwound. But would you be looking at Palantir?
Well, if you've got the appetite for it, and I fully agree with what David has said, don't go overboard on this, because let's face it, at a triple PE, it's nobody's idea of being expensive if that is your measurement. That being said, they have an in with the US government, and specifically Trump, and they've got their hands in everything as far as security and the military complex in the US, and to a large extent internationally, is concerned as well. So that's a pretty big moat. They're down probably about 15-20% from their recent highs. So this is the sort of area where your retail market will start, or at least your man on the street will look at buying in. But I certainly won't overexpose myself, because if we do see any kind of pullback in the American market for whatever reason, high PE companies get slaughtered. So just watch out for that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to remember. High PE companies can get slaughtered. Ricus, let's stay with you. Question came through. What's the best way to be exposed to copper as it makes all-time highs again? The copper story, every so often it pops up and it runs. But how would you, I mean, is it just BHP Billiton? Is it the ETN on the JSE? Ricus, how would you get copper exposure?
Well, there's something that bothers me. There's a huge difference between the copper price on the London Metal Exchange and what is trading in Chicago. And that's for obvious reasons. That's Trump and his mad tariff war that he's doing. So certainly it depends on where the copper price is set, because in America they'll have to import it at a tariff, so that makes the price in the Americas more expensive. Whereas if you take a look at Chinese warehouses, it's chock and block full of copper, so it's not as if there's a undersupply on the Chinese sector. All that being said, for the future, copper is definitely going to be used because you need it for what's happening as far as IT is concerned. Every single thing uses copper, so the best way to get it is probably from your producers. Just watch out for your exposure. In other words, where are they mining it and where they're exporting it. So I would go for either Glencore or Billiton, depending on where those prices and those risk measures are.
David, copper, where would you get your copper?
I can't understand this. And really, Simon, first of all, why impose tariffs on copper?
Wow.
And what happens is, as you say, the Chicago price goes up. That's what consumers in America are going to pay. They're not going to pay. They're not going to go around the corner to some copper mine and say, do you mind supplying us a truck full of copper? Any manufacturer, and believe me, Ricus said it, it forms part of housing, of motor vehicles, of electricity, you name it, you use copper. So Americans are going to be paying more for their copper than the Chinese or anybody else who will take their price from the LME. So I can't see any sense in it. But you want to participate, dead right. Go for either Glencore or BHP or Rio Tinto, companies like that. That's. I know we can buy Copper 360 here, and you can buy Orion and that. I don't think they're in the same kind of class, but. To me, I don't understand Trump's policies and that. So
I don't even know where we are with tariffs. I just know that there may be some, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure who or isn't perhaps being tariffed. David, let's stay with you. Question coming through around Omnia, and I've lost the question, but it was about the Omnia. Your take on Omnia? Is it a stock you'd be adding at these points?
I've always liked the business, but I'm not quite sure where they are at the moment, because there are three divisions. There's the chemical side, the agricultural side, and then the mining side. And I never know which one's doing well and which one's doing badly, but you're always let down by something. But it's I'm a little out of touch with it at the moment. But fundamentally, it's a pretty decent business. If you would have given me warning, I would have read up on it and given you a more informed opinion. But
well, let's pick Ricus's brain. Ricus, Omnia?
Yeah, I think it looks attractive at these levels. It's, well, technically speaking, it's just above its 200-day moving average for those who look at charts. And otherwise, I think on a price earnings of about 8, div yield of about 4. As David said, we'll see in June which specific divisions did what. But I think mining should be doing okay. I think the fertilizer should be doing okay. So, and considering that they had a huge fundamental turnaround in their business, and that's now fairly settled, I would expect decent results in June. And I think at current prices, probably quite attractive.
Okay, we're back to Sasol, and the question is simple. We haven't had many Sasol questions lately. Does that mean everyone has sold and it's time to buy? Certainly it has gone quiet. It's also gone to 70-odd rand. Ricus, you look at charts. I can't believe you look at that chart and think there's anything good about it, notwithstanding the fundamentals.
I had a price target of 80 rands, got below that, and it doesn't matter what patterns I'm trying to see, and all my pareidolia included in that. I've got no idea where this thing is going except down. So fundamentally, there's a lot of people saying, well, it's a steal at these prices. It could be a steal at lower prices, and someday it will probably turn around, but I'm not going to try and catch this knife.
David, you happen interested in falling Sasol pianos?
You know what? I'm not a chartist, but the one thing I do know about charts is that bottoms take a long time to form. And in other words, let the bottom form. If Ricus, if you look at that chart, it just keeps going down and winding down. So, but if you want to buy it, let it form a bottom, and don't measure it on price, measure it on time, and let a nice base, and then you can go into it. It just seems to be getting weaker and weaker, which is nothing more than a reflection of their businesses here, and also probably chemical prices, which we tend to discount. So there's obviously something troubling, a lot of things troubling, investors, and I think that's more structural than maybe on their underlying businesses. I'm talking chemical prices and oil prices. This is a structural issue that's keeping people away.
Yeah, and I don't know much about charts either, but I like them bottom left, top right, not the other way around.
This is the other way around. This is top left, bottom right, not good.
Wrong way around. David, before we go to break, question coming through. I'm looking at Microsoft. Valuation seems okay. They got a really good play in AI, and of course they own Windows and Office. I mean, I was going to say it's an old boring. It was old boring under Obama, but it's not so much anymore.
No, it's good. And the valuations are looking attractive at these levels. And I don't think the story's over. There's so many skeptics out there who say AI, you're never going to get your money back. Too much money is being expended. But if you don't do it, you fall behind like Intel did and Cisco and all those other businesses. And this is a quality business. This is a noble business. I think at these levels, it's very attractive. And we use it every day. We're using it now, you know what I mean? So, well, this is Zoom, hey? This is not Teams.
That's because Zoom is better, but let's not say that. Ricus, Microsoft?
I think the main narrative at the moment is whether they overcapitalize as far as their AI development is concerned, and whether people that use integrated models, in other words, models that don't learn but are applications on the better place to be. And I think it's reflected in the share price that's come off also about 15-20% over the past, since the start of the year. So I'm going to steal from David over here. So I'm agnostic at the moment about Microsoft. I would like to see cash flow income starting to flow from their cap investments. And I'm also looking at people that use AI rather than develop AI at the moment.
Yeah, I take your point on that. Yeah. Let's see some real benefits. Question coming through, Ricus, let's stay with you. Spur, stocks kind of sideways for a fair bit of time. Good results, nice balance sheet. Consumer still struggling, but better than they were a year ago, maybe. Would you be looking at Spur?
Yeah, I've got a hold on it at the moment, and it is in my portfolio. So I think those were very decent results in very trying times. I think their model is excellent. They're ex-div today. The price hasn't moved, which is also quite nice. If I had to choose between something like Spur or Famous Brands, and I want to be exposed to the retail side of things, I'll take Spur anytime, and hopefully we've got a bit of a touristy boost coming in as well. So I think it's pretty much a hold and a buy at lower levels.
David, Spur?
Good value for money, always. I've always liked it. It came onto the market in about 1987, but I've always, around about there if I recall on that, but I've always liked their offering. And I know that it's not a massive business in terms of market cap and that, but, they prod along, and I like the new management. So, look, what determines whether or not these businesses operate? And I think they were dragged down. Can you imagine what they did during, first of all, COVID, and then secondly, with the massive inflation that we've seen in food prices, to keep going like they have, with all these things acting against them, and including power and everything, you've got to hand it to management. So I like the business, and I like their management style, and I like their offering. Really good value for money.
Yeah, and listed in 86, so just ahead of the 87
86.
crazy boom.
Yeah, 86.
Yeah, I don't remember them coming to market, but then I was probably doing a math class or something. Question coming through.
Alan Hamler, you don't remember Alan Hamler? Used to walk around with a ponytail and sandals, typical of Cape Townian. I always used to ask him. I said, "Do you really eat the stirs? Do you really eat that steak and chips?" Because he looked to me like a vegan type person. He used to get upset with me very much.
Yeah, no, I was more likely back then to be working at a Spur than to be shopping at a Spur. Question coming through about Pepkor, in particular the deal that they announced yesterday. They're going to be buying sort of more adult fashion. The stock's been falling, but there has been a bit of a bounce. Pepkor, worth having a look at. The deal yesterday looked good, although the Boardman's was weird. But aside from that, David, Pepkor?
I like Pepkor. I've always liked them. I don't say I made money out of them or the greatest of the apparel retailers, but there again, you drive through South Africa, every little pandoki or town has got a Pepkor, and now they're going up market. I think they're expanding. They're also in Brazil. It's a good business. Is it value for money? I don't know. Would you prefer one of the other retailers? I don't. I just have a liking for Pepkor. So
Ricus?
That's not a strong foundation
No.
to make a decision.
No, so we're going to give the deciding vote to Ricus on Pepkor.
Yeah. As with Spur and Leisure, Pepkor's my holding in clothing and retail above the Mr. Prices and Fashini's. I think management has proved themselves. I like what they're doing in the fintech side of things. The move into the more adult side of clothing with yesterday's deal, which is not big in terms of Pepkor's market cap, I think is a move in the right direction. Obviously, there'll have to be a turnaround story in some of those brands, but I think we can trust management on that. And as I've said, it's a core holding in my portfolio, and I think at current prices, if you want to go into clothing retail, that's the one you're going to go for.
Question coming through from a brave person.
Well,
No, Ricus was perfect. David, you didn't have to say anything. Ricus had it all under control. But now we've got the really brave question. Ricus, we'll start with you. Is it time to short gold miners?
No. Why would you do that? The prices are going up. You don't short into a market that's going up. That's just crazy stuff.
Okay. David?
the time will come.
Oh, yes.
Now.
Okay. It used to be.
Don't try to preempt the market. Rather look for those signals.
Yeah.
I mean, the signals are not there. If anything, the signals are showing that it's going to get stronger. And the market, our gold share markets, I'm not a gold bull. So I talk from that angle and that, but don't try and mess around with the market like this. You're going to come short.
Yeah, there was a time. I mean, I used to say that the only time I would buy a gold share was when I was closing a short, and that changed in the last 4 or so years. Suddenly there's real stuff happening out there. David, question coming around Dis-Chem. I got to say, it's a stock I haven't looked at in a while. Typically it's Dis-Chem or Clicks. Typically I prefer Clicks. Dis-Chem, would you have it on your shopping list?
Yeah, I shop there all the time. All old people like me go to Dis-Chem. And I like the way they run their stores and that. And I think it's still a growing company. You've got to give a chance. You can't compare it with Clicks. Clicks has been around for a long time. And I think Dis-Chem is still rolling out. It's only been on the market a few years and started from when I say humble circumstances, they genuinely were. But I like what they do as well. So I wouldn't I wouldn't chuck it out of a portfolio. I'm not a great buyer of local stocks and that, but I like the business as well. And that's important, If you shop there, you feel good about a store, I think the business will come through. They've got Baby City as well. They're trying their best to roll out smaller stores. Give them I would give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, my only problem is they sell me all the health stuff, and then in the queue they sold me chocolates, and it's like, guys, which is it? Am I fit or am I fat? Like you got to help me decide. Ricus, aside from the queues at Dis-Chem, your take on the stock?
Yeah, as you said, Clicks and Dis-Chem, and David's quite right. Dis-Chem is the young upstart, and Clicks is your more established brand, and I think one could probably have both in your portfolio at the right price, or from my perspective, at the right price momentum point. And at the moment, that's not, that's not there yet. We're still in a correction on those two. But if the right time comes, I would probably have both. In other words, have clicks and a smaller hold in Dis-Chem, purely because Dis-Chem has got so much more avenue for growth.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm worried about negative price momentum.
There's one point I think we have to raise, is that there's been a big sell-off in retailers right across the board, from the food retailers to the clothing retailers. I think a reaction to what we saw last year, where the market ran ahead of itself. The fact that we might only get one rate cut now, having issues with the budget, I think, and you saw consumer confidence. So we're saying this, trying to recommend against a sell-off in the market and weakness in the market. But reflecting on the quality of the business, the Pepkors, the Dis-Chem are really the other one, Spur, are just really good, well-run operations.
Yeah, and running well.
Timing is difficult, yeah.
Yeah, and running well in very, very tough conditions. It's not easy working in SA Inc. David, let's stay with you. Question coming through. Rhodium is getting some life back into it, up above 5,000. The PGMs are running today. Is this the bottom, or do we wait for more evidence?
For
PGM stocks.
You're getting that gold story again. I'm looking at platinum shares off the levels there, and I'm saying, something's happening, which I'm not quite sure why, but it's happening, and I'm not going to act against it. I'm not going to be the person who removes my finger from the dike. It's not going to burst. It's looking Amplats, Impala, Northern, all of those are up today. So don't be clever. If the trend is if it's starting to develop an uptrend, as we've seen with gold shares and platinum shares, because they've supported our market. We wouldn't be at the all-time highs if it wasn't for those shares. Add on the 10-cent and a little bit of Richmond. So maybe there is a signal there. You might need more evidence. We'll wait for it, but if anything, it's pointing in a positive direction.
Ricus, I'm usually late to the party because I'm the chap who wants lots of evidence. Where do you fall in this?
Yeah, as David said, I'm not a gold bull or a precious metal bull at all. But that doesn't stop me running with the herd when the herd is heading in the right direction. And that's what's happening with both gold and platinum shares. As David said, I've got no idea why rhodium all of a sudden has come to life. Platinum, I think, is... we know the story there. Maybe less uptake of electric vehicles as previously thought, therefore more demand for catalysts. But prices are telling us something. Impala is looking very good, for example, for a run to about 130 Rand, possibly higher. I won't even do the target because people will think I'm but yeah, gold at an all-time high, platinum going up, rhodium going up. And it is also emblematic of people heading into commodities when there's uncertainty about the future. And let's face it, what's happening in America is casting a huge cloud over what's going to happen in economic growth over the next 12 months to 4 years.
Yeah, this is the uncertainty space. Let's go to some stock picks. David, did you find us a stock pick, or are you going to pass?
You know what? In fact, I mentioned it at the beginning. I looked through Outsurance's results, and I think this is a superb little business. I know they're going into Ireland, which is a risk factor, but once again, I would support management and what they have achieved. I think what they have done in the short time that they've been around, I think is superb. And I've just watched it go up and up and up and up. And it's a good business. So, having been forced into a corner to choose something, and having spoken about Remgro earlier, I would rather have than Remgro.
Okay, so some Outsurance there for David. Ricus, you're going with Telkom. They announced the SwiftNet deal earlier in the week, looking good.
Yeah, that plus the fact that our local telecom sector, it's only 4 shares, but they're all going up for various reasons. And internationally, that sector is pretty defensive as well. And I was mentioning the sort of uncertainty surrounding world economic growth. So why specifically Telkom? It's a turnaround story, and they've turned around very well. They've reduced debt. Their mobile subscribers are increasing. They are increasing their fiber network. Results were pretty good. The graph looks good. They're on a discounted cash flow about 47, 48 rand. My technical top price target about 43, 45. So that meshes quite nicely. I just think it's in these uncertain times, not bad to be in a company that's got a beta of about 0.8.
Telkom it is. We'll leave it there for today. Thanks to our guest, David Shapiro from Sasfin Securities, Ricus, PSG Hole and One Ruimsig. Up next, the close. Stay watching.